Well, last year I was introduced to Joe and I started knitting poppies. I thought it was a wonderful idea. I have great personal feelings with World War I. My grandfather, who served from 1914 to 1918, was not from here, was from Bradford. He was a Bradford pal. He was, at the end of the war, was imprisoned in a German camp and came home a different man, really. And as a young child growing up, he lived with us. So I lived with a much loved grandpa who was obviously scarred by his experiences in the First World War. He could get very angry if my sister and I turned our nose up at food because he had been starving, really. He said, you know, when you've seen what I've seen, you would never turn your nose up at anything. I won't go into all the details, but he didn't talk about it a lot at all. I don't think they did they? I think Jo was obviously inspirational, and she started sort of advertising it. And we did a small amount last year, which was lovely, and then we wanted to do more this year because it was the centenary. So I think word of mouth, really, people who saw it last year, who came along to the remembrance last year to the church where we had wreaths and that, were inspired and said they'd like to be involved this year. So more and more people have come along. Some have knitted 100, 200 poppies a piece. My neighbour over the road, I was sort of a bit worried, I only did 20 this year. But, and I think families got involved who had a connection. So people's sisters who maybe lived in Yorkshire or someone got knitting as well. And as we've gone along, Jo's had regular meetings in Ye Maids in the village with an update of what's happening. They're being sewn onto the camouflage netting, which is going to be hung from the church tower, which I think will look stunning. Obviously the camouflage to do connections with the army, and the poppies to do with the peace. So it's a case of many hands make light work. I know the aim was 5,000 poppies. I think we've got over 6,000, nearly 7, so more sewing. I haven't been involved with this before, so I've just come in for my orders, but I think it's a wonderful idea and I think it should be remembered. And I just think it's something everybody has a memory, everyone has a memory of, well, I do anyway, and I hope it will stay on with the next generation. I mean, it's very much, personally for me, I'm 70, so I can remember veterans, and my husband's grandfather went through it. My husband lived with him a lot, so they were very close, and the stories he told. But as you say, they didn't tell very much. They wouldn't talk about it very much. I think it was too painful, really. I mean, I've got a postcard. I've got my grandfather's medals and everything, and a postcard that my grandmother received in Yorkshire, written in pencil from him when I'm a prisoner of war. And I can't read it all because it was written in pencil and it had faded. But that was very poignant. And when he came home, when he was eventually came home, just, I think it was in 1919, because he had to be released from the prison camps. My grandmother went to meet him and didn't recognise him. He was so malnourished, and he was crippled as a result of it. So he was always a sick man afterwards.